What if I told you that one of the hardest things you'll ever face in your 70s isn't walking up the stairs or remembering names? It's opening a closet full of memories and deciding what to let go. Not because you're running out of space, but because every item you touch whispers a story, a moment, a person you once were or loved. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and this video is for you. My name is your name, and after more than a decade working with older adults, helping them navigate aging with dignity, I've realized something many people overlook. Decluttering in later life isn't about tidying, it's about grieving, healing, and choosing what version of yourself you carry forward. I once helped an 82-year-old man named Richard who hadn't touched his wife's vanity since she passed 10 years earlier. On the shelf was her almost empty perfume bottle, untouched, yet sacred. "I can't throw it out," he said. "The scent makes her feel close." And right then I understood. Some items may be small, but the emotional weight they carry can be immense. So today, I want to share with you 5 harsh truths about decluttering that almost no one talks about. Truths I've witnessed in real homes, with real people, and maybe even in my own heart. These truths aren't meant to scare you, but to free you. Because there's something powerful in finally creating space, not just in your home, but in your mind, your body, your spirit. And when we get to truth number 3, I'll be sharing a personal story that often brings silence, nods, and tears. When we reach that moment, I invite you to pause the video and leave a comment. Tell me if it resonates. Tell me if it's something you've struggled with too. And if this message already speaks to something deep inside you, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. Not for me, but for you, and for the thousands of others who are walking this same road and might find strength in knowing they're not alone. So take a deep breath. We're not just going to talk about what's taking up space in your house. We're going to talk about what's weighing down your heart. Let's begin with truth number 1. Why decluttering often feels like losing a part of yourself, and why that's more normal than you think. Truth 1. Decluttering is only 25% of the battle. Let me ask you something bold. What if I told you that decluttering isn't the solution? It's just the beginning. Imagine this. You spend hours going through dusty boxes, you donate bags of clothes, you finally see your kitchen counter for the first time in years, and for a fleeting moment, it feels like you've won. But then, a few weeks pass, and somehow, without even realizing it, the clutter creeps back in, one item at a time. I've seen this pattern over and over. In fact, I once worked with a warm-spirited 74-year-old woman named June, who proudly told me she had spent her weekend clearing out her attic. But when I visited her a month later, her hallway was overflowing again, with new bargains from the local dollar store. "They were on sale," she said softly, with a half-apologetic smile. That's when it hit me. June hadn't actually decluttered. She had simply created space for the next wave of stuff. And that brings us to the first harsh truth. Decluttering is only 25% of the battle. The other 75%, the part no one talks about, is your inflow, outflow, systems, and mindset. You can toss everything you own, but if you don't change what comes through your front door, the clutter will always return. If you don't create a habit of letting go, not just once a year, but regularly, then your space will quietly fill up again. If you don't build systems that help you keep the essentials visible and organized, then even the most beautiful room will feel chaotic within days. And above all, if you don't shift your mindset, if you keep asking, "What if I need this?" instead of, "Does this support who I am now?" then no amount of purging will bring you peace. Decluttering feels productive because it is, but it's also deceptive if we don't look deeper. Without addressing the emotional roots, the fears, the habits, the identity tied to our things, we're not really decluttering. We're just shuffling stuff around. So before you fill another donation bag, pause and ask yourself, what's really driving this clutter? Because until you answer that question, the cycle won't end. And speaking of hard truths, what if I told you that decluttering is hard? Yes, but living in clutter, day after day, is even harder. Truth 2. Decluttering is hard, but living in clutter is even harder. Let me be completely honest with you. Decluttering is hard. Anyone who tells you it's just about sorting and donating hasn't done it with a lifetime of memories attached to every shelf. But here's what might surprise you. Living in clutter, day after day, is even harder. See, clutter doesn't just take up space, it takes up energy. Studies show that when your environment is constantly chaotic, your brain enters a state of low-grade stress, like it's always on alert. And if you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, that kind of stress isn't just exhausting, it's dangerous. I once sat with a gentleman named Thomas who had stacks of unopened mail, magazines, and boxes covering nearly every surface in his living room. He told me he couldn't sleep well, couldn't focus, and didn't feel like inviting anyone over, not even family. "It's like the house is closing in on me," he whispered. And I knew exactly what he meant. Clutter slowly eats away at your peace, your freedom, and even your relationships. Yes, decluttering is hard. It asks you to make decisions you've been avoiding for years. It forces you to touch items tied to grief, guilt, and sometimes shame. It makes you face the past, and sometimes the version of yourself you no longer recognize. But choosing to live in clutter means choosing the slow erosion of joy, energy, and control. So the real question is this: which kind of heart are you willing to face? Because one leads to healing, and the other leads to quiet, daily suffering. And let's be clear, this isn't about having a Pinterest-perfect home. It's about creating a space that nurtures you, not drains you. One where you can move safely, breathe freely, and wake up without the mental weight of all the stuff pressing in. Decluttering is hard, yes, but it's a hard that gives something back. Clutter is a hard that only takes. And speaking of things we hold onto too tightly, let me ask you, have you ever kept something not because you loved it, but because you felt guilty getting rid of it? Because that brings us to our next truth, one that strikes deeper than most. Let's talk about the emotional guilt of letting go and how it silently shapes the way we live. Truth 3. The emotional guilt of letting go. Let's talk about something that no one warns you about, the guilt. Not the kind that nags you about what you didn't do, but the quiet, heavy kind that wraps itself around objects and makes letting go feel like betrayal. I've worked with so many older adults who were ready to downsize, who wanted to simplify, but when they picked up that old letter from a late spouse or touched a chipped teacup that belonged to their mother, they froze. One woman I'll never forget, Elaine, 79, held onto a box of birthday cards from her children, some over 40 years old. When I gently asked her if she considered letting them go, she looked at me, eyes welling up, and whispered, "But if I throw them away, will it feel like those years didn't matter?" That's the emotional minefield of decluttering. You're not just sorting through things, you're sorting through the emotional history of your life. And here's the deeper truth. We often confuse objects with people, memories, or identity. We believe that if we discard the item, we're discarding the love, the story, the person attached to it. But the reality is, memories are not stored in boxes. They live in you. They live in the stories you tell, the recipes you pass down, the love that continues long after the object is gone. And yet, that guilt persists. Sometimes it's guilt about waste. This was expensive, or they gave it to me. I should keep it. Other times it's guilt about what something meant, even if we no longer need or use it. But here's what I've learned after a decade working in homes just like yours. Keeping something out of guilt doesn't honor it. It anchors you. It clutters your space, yes, but more importantly, it clutters your heart. So I want to ask you, and if this part hits home, please share in the comments. Have you ever kept something, not because it served you, but because you felt too guilty to let it go? You're not alone. So many people are quietly carrying that same weight. And speaking of weight, that leads us to a truth that's even harder to accept. What happens when you finally decide to pass something down, only to realize your family doesn't want it? Truth 4, they don't want your stuff. And that's okay. Now this next truth, it stings. Because no matter how much we prepare ourselves, it still feels personal. Here it is, your kids, your grandkids, they probably don't want your stuff. Not the china set you wrapped in newspaper for 40 years. Not the heavy oak dining table where every birthday cake was sliced. Not even the photo albums, carefully labeled, one by one. And I want to tell you this not as criticism, but as compassion. Because I've sat in too many living rooms with tears in someone's eyes as they quietly ask, but why wouldn't they want it? Doesn't it matter to them? The truth is, it mattered to you. It tells your story. But their lives are different now. Their homes are smaller. Their priorities, faster. Their memories, digital. They grew up in a world of mobility, minimalism, and less attachment to things. And that doesn't mean they don't love you. It means their connection to you isn't based on what you give them. It's based on who you are to them. I once worked with a retired teacher named Marilyn. She had saved every single card, school project, drawing, and art supply from her 3 children. She dreamed of handing it all down one day, her legacy in boxes. But when the time came, her daughter gently said, "Mom, I love you, but I can't take all of this. I don't even have the space." Marilyn was crushed, but then something beautiful happened. Her daughter asked for just one item, a recipe card written in Marilyn's handwriting. "This," she said, "this feels like you." And sometimes, one small thing means more than 100 big ones. It's okay if your children don't want the things you cherished, because your true legacy isn't sitting in a storage unit. It's in the stories you tell, the lessons you teach, the love you've shown. So if you've been holding on to things just in case someone might want them someday, let yourself be free. Ask them now. Give with love, not expectation. And if they say no, give that item new life elsewhere, with someone who does need it, or simply let it go in peace. Because letting go isn't rejection. Sometimes it's release. And speaking of release, let's talk about something many people misunderstand entirely. Decluttering isn't a one-time event, it's a way of living. Truth 5. Decluttering is not a one-time event, it's a lifelong practice. So, you've let go of the guilt. You've accepted that your family may not want everything you hoped they would. You've donated, released, cried, and felt lighter. But then, a few months pass, and somehow the clutter starts to creep back in. That's because here's the final truth. Decluttering is not a one-time event, it's a lifelong practice. So many people believe that once you've cleared out the attic or done a major purge, you're done. But the reality? Life keeps happening. Mail still arrives. Sales still tempt you. Gifts still come in. And if we're not intentional, our homes slowly begin to fill again, item by item, memory by memory, until we're right back where we started. I once had a client named George, 81 years old. He did a massive downsizing before moving into a smaller apartment. For the first time in years, he felt free, like he could breathe again. But when I visited him a year later, his new space felt just as cramped. I thought I had solved it, he said, shaking his head. But I just went back to my old ways. The truth is, decluttering isn't just about cleaning your space. It's about changing your habits, your relationship with things, and how you make decisions moving forward. You don't need to live in constant purging mode, but you do need to stay aware. That means checking in every season, asking yourself, what has come into my home? Do I still need this? Is this supporting who I am now? It means being mindful of what you say yes to, and gentle with yourself when you slip. It means choosing a life of clarity over chaos, not once, but again and again. And it means forgiving yourself when the clutter creeps back and simply beginning again. Because real change doesn't come from a weekend clean out. It comes from daily, quiet choices made with care. So as we close this journey together, I want to leave you with this. Decluttering is not about perfection. It's about peace. It's not about having less. It's about making room for what matters more. And the beauty of that, you can start again anytime, even today, especially today. If you've made it to this point, I want to say something very simple, but deeply sincere. I'm proud of you. Because watching a video like this isn't just about organizing drawers or clearing out closets. It's about having the courage to face your past, your attachments, and even your pain, with open hands and an open heart. And that takes strength. Maybe today you realized you've been carrying more than just physical clutter. Maybe something in your heart felt heavy, but now, just a little lighter. Maybe you saw yourself in Richard, or Elaine, or Marilyn. Or maybe you saw a version of yourself you're ready to grow beyond. The truth is, letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not about forgetting, but about making space for what's next. And you deserve that space. You deserve a home that supports your peace, not your guilt. A space that reflects who you are now, not just who you used to be. And if today's video helped you take even one small step in that direction, I hope you'll let me know. Speech Balloon, please scroll down and leave a comment. What part of this video resonated most with you? Have you been holding on to something you're finally ready to release? I read every message, and your story might be exactly what someone else needs to see to take their own first step. Orange heart if you found this video helpful. Please click that like button. It tells YouTube that this kind of honest, healing content matters. And if you'd like more videos like this, about decluttering, aging with purpose, and creating a life that fits your next chapter, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because this isn't the end. This is just the beginning. The beginning of a lighter home, a clearer mind, and a more intentional life. You don't need to do it all today. You just need to keep going. One drawer, one memory, one moment at a time. You've already started. And I'll be right here with you, every step of the way.